The last supermoon almost wiped out humanity, turning innocent people into bloodthirsty creatures. The phenomenon returns, and Dr. James Aranda warns, no one is safe when the moon rises in the sky. His research suggests that the lunar influence affects the DNA of certain individuals, triggering extreme aggression without warning. While the TV replays Aranda's statements, Lucy Marshall and her daughter Emma light a candle in front of John's photograph, a fallen police officer. With nostalgia and fear, they voice words of affection, feeling the paternal absence that weighs heavily on their hearts. The candle's glow reflects their shared melancholy and their longing for the protection they once had. The next shot focuses on Wesley Marshall, who reinforces the yard with traps, electric wiring, and security cameras, as well as powering up a generator. His determination to safeguard the house against the supermoon threat is evident. Meanwhile, from the neighboring home, their neighbor Cody practices firing a machine gun, flooding the neighborhood with deafening bursts. Wesley grows uneasy upon seeing the danger posed to Lucy and Emma. Inside the house, Lucy and Emma follow the news about curfews and military protocols on TV. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. Cody's neighbor appears with a container of food for Emma, trying to cheer the girl up. However, she leaves hurriedly and nervously, reflecting the widespread tension hanging in the air. Outside, Wesley confronts Cody about his gunfire. He warns him that he could hurt Emma or any neighbor, but Cody, a former soldier, defends his stance. He believes everyone must become soldiers to survive. He refers to the chaos seen in Tokyo and Sydney, convinced that hell is about to be unleashed. After the tense exchange, Wesley wishes him luck. Cody replies he doesn't need it. Back in the house, Wesley shows Lucy a gun and emphasizes the survival rules. Don't let anyone in, don't draw attention, and shoot without hesitation. Both understand that the coming hours will be critical, and unease settles into every corner. Later, Wesley visits Emma, who is scared and afraid everyone will die. He reassures her by recalling the story of the 3 little pigs. Their house is made of bricks, strong enough to withstand the big bad wolf. It's a promise, he says, trying to ease her fear. The girl manages a small smile, clinging to the idea that their home can protect them. Afterward, Wesley contemplates a medal while looking at John's photo. Lucy insists her brother would want to see him standing firm and fighting for the family. With a sigh, Wesley takes his leave, gets into his car, and heads toward the city. Lucy, feeling the weight of responsibility, sets out to secure doors and windows, dreading the long night ahead. While driving, Wesley observes the militarized city, roadblocks, ID checks, and people with deranged gazes. An official voice warns citizens to bring only what is strictly necessary to the shelters, as the mutation is spreading rapidly and transport is limited. Meanwhile, Lucy and Emma remain at home, noticing that Cody is also barricaded in his house. On TV, Dr. Aranda urges everyone to stay calm and avoid direct exposure to the supermoon. Lucy clings to that hope, while Cody reacts with anger and distrust. The narrative shifts to a high-security laboratory where scientists monitor individuals held in cages, using metal collars to curb their transformation. Alarms and emergency protocols activate as the night progresses and the supermoon draws nearer. Wesley, dressed in a special suit, joins a team of experts collaborating with Aranda. They are testing the so-called lunar protection, a liquid they hope can block the mutation. A large gate slides open slowly, revealing the full moon. The prisoners, some laughing and others terrified, await the critical moment of the experiment. The facility is completely sealed. Wesley and his colleagues observe as they spray a volunteer with the nano liquid just before the moon reaches its highest point. The captives, restless and growling, remind the scientists of the imminent danger. Meanwhile, on the screens, samples are compared with the Canis lupus group. When the moon shines at its peak, the spark everyone feared is ignited. Night continues. At the house, Lucy and Emma hear noises outside. Lucy, her voice trembling, insists everything is fine, but can't hide her shaking hands. An abrupt cut takes us to the blonde neighbor's home, where she checks the windows nervously. A flickering lamp heightens the sense of danger. Suddenly, a wolf-like creature bursts in with a guttural growl, revealing that the transformation has begun throughout the neighborhood. In the laboratory, the situation spirals out of control. The subjects begin to mutate, bending bars with inhuman strength. Dr. Aranda himself undergoes the transformation inside his suit. Panic ensues. The beasts break free from their cages, attack the scientists, and one young team member is torn apart. Wesley and the scientist Amy fight their way to a security door, leaving a colleague to die amid blood-curdling screams. Amy, weeping, can barely stand with Wesley's help. Back in Lucy's neighborhood, security cameras pick up humanoid figures prowling around. Cody, barricaded in his home, readies his gun to shoot anything that moves. Suddenly, a brutal impact shakes Cody's house. A beast smashes through the window and hurls him against the wall, breaking part of the structure. The moonlight illuminates Cody's face, whose eyes glow with a lupine tint that reveals his own transformation. Wesley and Amy Chen, still in the facility, reach a room filled with bulletproof vests, rifles, and special ammunition. They rush to plan their escape, aware that their lives are in peril. Wesley encourages her. "We have the formula. If we get out of here, we can save more people." After opening a door, they come across a werewolf covered in blood. They shoot without hesitation and sprint to a vehicle, speeding off. Wesley contacts Lucy via satellite phone. Her voice trembles as she hears ferocious pounding outside the house. "Don't let anyone in, Lucy," he repeats urgently. Almost at the same time, the blonde neighbor shows up, injured and begging for help. Compassionate, Lucy hesitates to open the door. Wesley, listening from afar, screams for her not to. Rejected, the neighbor is dragged off by a creature in a sudden attack. Lucy breaks down crying and Emma hugs her, both terrified. Wesley and Amy crash when something massive crosses the road. The vehicle overturns, and badly hurt, they crawl through the smoke. The streets are chaos, burning cars, people fleeing, howls piercing the night. Lucy, for her part, tells Emma to monitor the cameras and stay quiet. Wesley and Amy continue on foot, picking their way through debris and bodies scattered across the streets. They hear a horrifying growl. A colossal beast is destroying a car where someone weakly screams. They hide underneath another vehicle, holding their breath. The monster becomes distracted and moves away. Right then, Wesley's watch alarm goes off, drawing more creatures. They flee, firing frantically, and take refuge in a half-blocked shopping center. There, they discover cages with people showing signs of infection. Masked, armed individuals appear, pointing their guns at Wesley and Amy. "Give us one reason not to toss you out with those beasts," they threaten. Wesley raises his hands and explains. "We're scientists. We want to find a cure, and we need to pass through the tunnels." After searching their backpacks, they let them go, albeit warily. In the neighborhood, Lucy watches the screens, horrified by the horde of beasts ravaging houses, destroying everything in their path. With a trembling voice, she calls Wesley on the walkie-talkie, but only gets static. Tension rises when, suddenly, the power goes out completely and the security systems shut down. Wesley and Amy, having convinced the masked group, head into dark, damp underground tunnels. Once they manage to force open a gate, a creature bursts in and pounces on Wesley. He fights it off with a metal bar until it collapses, leaving him wounded and exhausted. With Amy's help, he staggers toward the exit. To avoid exposure to the SuperMoon, they spray themselves with the remaining protective liquid and cover up with improvised plastic sheets. They seek refuge in an abandoned hardware store, where they clean their cuts and bruises. Speaking softly, Amy admits she never started a family because she devoted herself to her career, while Wesley feels he must protect Lucy and Emma after losing his brother John. Amy's detector emits a beep. Wesley hears a creaking sound. A young girl with wolf-like features appears among the shelves. He hesitates to shoot, moved by her youth. She growls and edges closer with erratic movements. Amy, without hesitation, takes her down, revealing that children are also falling victim to the mutation. They decide to leave immediately. At Lucy's house, several lycanthropes knock down utility poles and high-voltage wires, plunging everything into darkness. With no power, Lucy barricades herself with a shotgun and hands Emma a flashlight, begging her to hide silently. Without the electricity Wesley had set up, the structure begins to give way to the onslaught of the beasts. As Wesley and Amy near the neighborhood, they find a group of soldiers and civilians trying to hold their ground with barricades. The werewolves' attack is fierce. Wesley is forced to flee in a vehicle, losing sight of Amy. He reaches his street, honking wildly to distract the monsters. He runs over several creatures but ends up crashing into his own fence. Lucy and Emma hear the collision and feel a brief relief, knowing Wesley has returned. The lycanthropes break in through the collapsed walls. Lucy protects Emma with an axe, managing to kill one of the beasts. Wesley bursts into the house and embraces his family for a moment of solace. However, the roars persist outside. Determined to protect them, he heads back out and exposes himself to the supermoon's light, transforming into a werewolf with dark fur and yellow eyes. The battle is savage. Wesley, now a beast, bites and tears at the neck of another lycanthrope. His howl shakes the neighborhood. Inside the house, Lucy keeps Emma safe until a huge werewolf breaks down a wall. It's Wesley, now driven by his most feral instincts, wearing John's medal around his neck. Lucy, frozen in fear, raises the empty gun and shows him the photo of John and Emma, pleading for him to remember. He lunges, roaring. At that moment, the alarm signals the break of dawn. Lucy shoots at the windows, letting the first rays of sunlight stream in. Bathed in the light, Wesley writhes, reverting to his wolf form's human aspect, drenched in sweat as he returns to his humanity.